You're listening to the Spare Office podcast hosted by the Crosspoint student staff.
What do I say again?
Hey
guys. I am Daniel, and
I'm Abby.
And this is the Spare Office podcast, and it's been a couple of weeks since we've done this, and so we're trying to figure it out again. But
so fun.
We are glad to be back with you guys with another episode. The last episode that we released was talking about wisdom in decisions that we make, and we're in the middle of this second season of the podcast, and we're talking about various elements of that word wisdom and how the Bible speaks so broadly to really every single element of life from a perspective of wisdom. And so if we are wise and in life, and we should long to see how God teaches us to be wise, how his word teaches us to apply knowledge, which is really, I think, how you would define wisdom, the application of knowledge. So that being said, today we want to talk about the wisdom in pursuits of life. And that's a pretty broad way of putting it, but I think it's going to help you guys as we kind of get a little bit into this episode. And so the way we want to start, Abby and I were just off camera, and then we were like, to hit record, we got to go, we got to do this. We started talking about what were our pursuits in our teenage years, in high school and in college. And for me, when I was junior and senior year of high school, I felt like maybe God was calling me to go into ministry, but I wasn't sure yet. And I really had no clue what that meant. I just kind of knew that that's something that I feel like God's doing in my mind and in my heart. But there was also this other thing that I was really passionate about, and I really loved working on cars, specifically cosmetically, like paint and auto body work. Loved it.
How did you get into that?
There was this technical school that we would go to for like half the day my junior and senior year called DABS. And
it's a different thing now.
Yeah, I think it's true. That was long before the dab. And I learned how to work on cars, how to repair dents and how to paint and how to buff and detail and all those things. And I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I've started thinking I could see myself starting a business and doing this for my life. And then my senior year, I got a job at an auto body shop, and capital H, hated it.
Isn't that amazing?
Hated it. Loved it when it was just something I was doing for fun. Hated it as soon as it became some kind of business. And so then I was kind of back to the drawing board. Like, what do I do here? So that's, in high school, that was how I was, quote unquote, pursuing my future, was just kind of, all I really know is I like this, but I got to figure out how to get into it and see if it's actually something I could make happen in life. And
no, I love that, because that's kind of a lot like my story. I knew I was good with kids. I knew I loved kids. And I guess when you're a girl and you like kids, everybody's like, be a teacher. And I was like, well, I guess I could be a teacher. And so, I just finished school and had an opportunity to go work in an orphanage and teach English. And I, capital H, hated it. I hated it. Now, granted, it was a different language. Like, I was having to teach kids who spoke Spanish, English, but it was still the whole process of, I think I learned I didn't like being the authority in the room. Like, I wanted to be more one-on-one, kind of more equal, and not have to be the heavy-handed. I don't know. I just hated it so much. But I think what's really cool is you're seeing it's something you liked, and then you hated it. And it's something that I thought, it's still a gifting. I still like kids, but I just knew teaching was not the thing.
Yeah.
But I love that both of us pursued it to the extent to realize, oh no, that's not it.
Yeah, this ain't it.
And it wasn't life-changing, and it didn't ruin our lives forever. It just gave us wisdom and maybe what the next step was supposed to be.
It's funny how, though, when you're in your teenage years, how I think I worked at that job for 6 months. How once I left that job, I thought, I'll never get that 6 months back. And now I'm, late 30s, and I'm like, what's 6 months? I mean, that's a blink of an eye. But at that time, it felt like I'd wasted so much of my time.
Yeah.
And so, I thought about this too, what happens when the thing that we start pursuing is never meant to be the pursuit? And I'm going to clarify what that means. What about when we start pursuing money? right? Because money is an essential to
Yeah.
life. We have to have money,
Need it.
groceries, roof over our head, electricity, hot water, like all those things require money.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of people in this world who that is their pursuit is money.
Right.
And they're willing to do just about anything to achieve that objective to make more money.
Yeah.
But I don't think that money is something that we can be passionate about. What we can do with money is something we can be passionate about.
Well, don't you find that's what happens? Is like we're freaking out about making the money so that we can have the clothes, have the experiences. Like the experiences right now is huge. It's like,
Mhm.
where are we going to go? What road trip are we going to take? What
Yeah.
place are we going to go? Like Italy for the summer. You know how many people went to Italy this summer? A lot.
Yeah,
A lot. You know who didn't go to Italy this summer?
not me.
Probably won't ever make it to Italy. That would be an amazing thought.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's that. And so even like what I just said, why do I know people went to Italy this summer? Because of my Facebook
Yeah,
feed.
thank you, social media.
And then I was fine with not going to Italy. And all of a sudden I was like, how do I get to Italy? And then I
Right.
started thinking, well, I need money. I don't have
Yeah.
money. And how do I make money?
Right.
And even if I had the money, would I go to Italy? Like, what would I do with all
Yeah.
of that? And it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, like, I think about, we have a great passage of scripture that we want to take a look at today, Luke 12. And it's this parable that Jesus tells of how the scripture refers to it as the rich fool. And it talks about, I'm just going to read it. A rich man's land was very productive. He thought to himself, what should I do since I don't have anywhere to store my crops? I'll do this, he said. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones and store all my grain and my goods there. And then I'll say to myself, you have many goods stored up for many years. Take it easy, eat, drink, and enjoy yourself. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life is demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? That's how it is with the one who stores up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. You know, I think what we can gain from this in the short time we have to really break this passage down. There's a lot to see here. But it's this idea that sometimes we become blind to the things that matter. And while money is necessary, I think there's also this reality from an eternal perspective that in eternity, money doesn't matter, because money's not going to be the thing that saves us. Money's not going to be the thing that at the end of the day makes us more fulfilled. It might provide for us the things we need.
Yeah.
But what is the danger that comes with making money our pursuit? Because I think that's what Jesus is warning us about here.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting too, I'm looking at it and it says a rich man's land was very productive. It didn't say that he had worked really hard.
That's good.
And so I think even in that, it's like, where did the productivity, let's try that again. Where did the productivity come from? It came from the land. Who decides if the land is productive or not? The maker of the land.
Right.
And that's God.
Yeah.
And so it's like the Lord had been the one to provide this overflow. And he's like, well, what do I do with this overflow?
Yeah.
And you and I were talking about earlier, it's like when this recording is coming out, this is the week of Camp Cross Kids for us. And tonight we are studying the feeding of the 5,000. And so while I was reading it, you know, here they are, Jesus has done all this amazing stuff. And then they're all hungry. And Jesus says, you know, everybody sit down. And he looks at Philip and he says, Philip, how are we going to feed these people? And he said, in order to test Philip, because he knew what he was going to do. But Philip didn't know what he was going to do.
Right.
And so whether it's in plenty, like this fool,
Yeah.
or whether it's in not having enough, because I can't imagine the panic that Philip felt. Like Jesus just looked at me and asked me, how are we going to feed upwards of 15,000 people? And he's like, I mean, we could work for a whole year and not make enough money to do this. And that's what he told Jesus. So one, too many people, and another thing, not enough money.
Right.
And so whether in plenty or whether in nothing, the Lord is like, hey, like what's required of you is me.
Yeah.
Look to me.
Yeah.
Because I love that it said that like Jesus already knew what he was going to do, but he just kind of was
Right.
testing Philip like,
Right.
hey, are you going to trust me?
Yeah.
Because how many amazing things have we seen the Lord do in our lives already? How many things do we have to overlook in order to forget and complain about the things we don't have?
Yeah.
And it's like this guy could have stopped and thanked the Lord for the land. This guy could have looked at everything and said, Lord, what do you want me to do with this? But he came up with a solution himself. And with feeding the 5,000, God came up with a solution that was beyond anything anyone could have ever thought or imagined. And it was like, what would happen in our lives if it was like, okay, Lord, I need the money.
Yeah.
I need the food. I need the provision. And then what you give me, would that be enough? Would it be my portion? How many times in the Bible does the Lord say that he gives us our portion?
Right. Yeah. And I'm sitting here thinking about, what I think we're narrowing this down to is, what are you pursuing?
Yes.
Because when you pursue sustenance to fill your hungry stomach, you're going to be hungry again. When you pursue money to build bigger storehouses, your storehouses are going to be empty again at some point. These things of the world that we pursue, let's think about it in modern terms. When you pursue more followers on social media, what is that really going to fulfill? And we all know the answer to that question. It's nothing. It's going to fulfill zero. So it would be foolish to use Jesus's words here to make that our pursuit. And so that's why I think as we continue through Luke 12, we were talking about this earlier too, Jesus gets to the root of the issue here. He says, but seek first the kingdom. So it's plain and simple what our pursuit has got to be. It's got to be Jesus. Yeah. And you just said that with Jesus's exchange with Philip, and that's what he's always causing us to come down to. And so what I really want to encourage us to think about, and this is something we can kind of discuss a little further too, is think about, how do I make my ultimate pursuit Jesus? So we can get a little practical here. Because the world is constantly fighting for our attention and trying to get us to pursue different things. I mean, every company that's trying to sell us on something is trying to get us to pursue that something that they're selling us, because that's what's going to keep them in business. That's what's going to keep them afloat.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure that our pursuits are focused in the right direction? And what happens when we are pursuing the wrong thing? Like, what happens in the midst of that?
Well, I think what's really interesting in both of these cases, when I talk about Philip and when we talked about this guy, and here the Lord is calling him a fool. And to us, it's like, you call somebody a fool. I mean, is it Mike Tyson? I pity the fool. Anyway, what is
Mr. T?
It's Mr. T.
Mr. T.
Boxer still?
Yeah. In the Rocky movies.
Oh.
I think he's was a boxer in real life. Is he still alive? I don't know.
I don't know. Y'all can Google that. Probably shouldn't even brought that reference up, but hey, fun times. Anyway, I think the Lord doesn't sin. Like, Jesus doesn't sin.
Right.
So when he just says you fool, that's not him being mean.
Right.
Like in like a sinful, mean way. The way God works is that he's gonna, like, it was for this dude's good.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, you fool.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the Lord has to step on our toes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be okay with that. And I think, one, self-awareness. Why do I want the money?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I making this post? Why do I want this job?
Why do I want to go to this college?
Yeah. Like, okay, ask the hard question. Let the Lord step on your toes. Ask yourself the hard question of, is this for my gain? Or is this for the Lord's gain? And sometimes you don't have to answer that. Sometimes you go on the mission field and you realize you hate teaching. Sometimes you get a job and realize you don't want to paint cars. Like, you just continue to make the next step, trusting the Lord. But I think that's the key. He asks Philip, what are we going to do? Because he was testing him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you trust me? You just watched me heal all these people. You watched me heal the official's son. You've watched me heal all these people and do all these amazing things. Do you trust that I can do this too?
Mm-hmm.
And then here it is. I've given you all this stuff. Do you trust that I can satisfy you? Let's go back to Genesis 3 with Eve. You think you know better, but do you trust that God's way is better? And I think what's really awesome is right after this parable, this is when we get everybody knows it, the cure for anxiety quotes of, then he said to his disciples, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about the body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens we're considering ravens. They don't sow or reap. They don't have a storeroom or a barn, yet God feeds them. Aren't you worth more than the birds? Can any of you add 1 moment of his lifespan by worrying? If then you are not able to do even a little thing, why worry about the rest? And I was like, do I believe that I'm worth more than the birds? Do I trust that the Lord loves me enough to give me what I need? And what I need might not be what I want.
Right.
But what I need is what I need.
Yeah.
And if I've got him, then I've got enough.
What I think's really cool is going back to what you just said about Philip. When Philip gave the wrong answer to Jesus, he still got to eat.
Yeah, he did.
You know what I mean? Like when we respond in the wrong way, because some guys we do. Everybody sitting in this room has responded to the quote unquote tests that the Lord gives us at times. We've responded in the wrong way at times. And it's not a matter of God's not looking at us going, oh, I hope they get this one right. Like the Lord is gracious and merciful, and he knows everything that we need, and he knows how we're going to answer questions that he gives us, and he knows every bit of it. He's in the midst of all of it. And so these things that we're pursuing, when we're thinking about practical application of wisdom in the pursuits of life, we need to be ready to say, okay, this is what I think God's calling me to do here. And go in that direction with hope and trust and faith. And then if or when we realize, that was the wrong choice, then we get the opportunity to reflect and to ask the question, okay, what did I learn from that? Because maybe God allowed us to go that way so that we can gain experience, gain wisdom, gain knowledge, maybe even gain a practice of repentance. Like the Lord's always working to refine us, and all these things are always for our good.
Yeah. Which
even
is
in that.
cool with the feeding of the 5,000, is that he gathered up all the leftovers so that none of it would be wasted. And the fact that he even adds that, so that none of it would be wasted.
Yeah.
Because the Lord doesn't waste anything.
Right.
And so I love what you're saying. I think we gain wisdom by, in our pursuits, asking the hard questions, even paying attention. What are your giftings? What are things that the Lord has inclined you as a person? Like, I happen to be really good with people and kids. I don't know why, but that's how the Lord made me. You put me in an auto body shop? No, thank you. Like that, I had no desire for that. None. Like, I'm never going to be in law enforcement. I'm never going to be a doctor. Those are not the things that God made me for.
Right.
But ask, what are some things that the Lord has gifted me specifically with? And then go try them in a way of wisdom.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we did. You just take some steps and be like, nope, not that.
Yeah.
But in the process, you learned something about yourself.
Right.
This is maybe more of a hobby than it is a pursuit of my job. And so the Lord will waste nothing. But I think what's interesting too, what you and I were talking about, the example Jesus gives in this is a raven.
Right.
And ravens don't have the best reputation, which the Lord talks about ravens a lot in the Bible, but it's not like a dove. It's not a sparrow. It's like this creepy bird that doesn't really sow anything on its own. It
Kind
just
of a
eats
loner.
carcasses. Yeah. Like it's picking on everybody else and it's grabbing everybody else's stuff. And so that the Lord would take care of even the raven. So whether we've got it all together or whether we're just flying around trying to figure it out, we're with the Lord in the process.
Yeah.
And I think if that's our pursuit, if we seek first his kingdom, he says, then all of these things, the food, the clothes, the money, all of that, then all of that, then you'll get that.
Mm-hmm.
But to seek him first and say, Lord, what is it you want for me? Because I think oftentimes, isn't it the last thing we do? Like when I have a problem, when I need to find a solution, the last thing I do is usually pray.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm going to try to find every other way. Who can I ask? What can I do? What can I Google? What does AI say? How does chat tell me to do this? But how much more peace would come if it was just like, hey, Lord.
Yeah. Okay, Lord.
I need you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think a good challenge for you guys is just ask yourself the question, or ask the Lord this question. What am I pursuing?
Yeah.
What would I say I am actively putting my time, effort, and energy into as a pursuit of my life?
How do you assess that? What do
I
you
think
look at? What are main things you look at?
For me, I'm going to look at categories of my life.
Okay.
So like if I'm thinking like Daniel currently, I'm going like, all right, what am I pursuing in my family life?
Okay.
What am I pursuing in my career? What am I pursuing in my spiritual life? So on and so forth. I'm going to put it into like major categories of my life, places that I spend most of my time.
So like how much time you're on your phone,
Uh-huh.
that'll tell you a lot of what you're pursuing. Yeah. Where does your money go?
Mm-hmm.
That'll tell you a lot about what you're pursuing.
Right.
People
mm-hmm.
that you're hanging out with.
Mm.
That'll tell you a lot about what you're pursuing.
Absolutely. So I think like for our students, we put ourselves in their shoes. For a moment, we might say, what am I pursuing when I'm at school? Am I pursuing my education? Am I pursuing friendships? Am I pursuing social status? We could think about it that way. What, in my extracurricular activities, what am I doing there? How am I spending my time there? And what is my ultimate goal in those things that I'm doing? Mm-hmm. As far as my, education, my future is concerned, my career, whatever, like think about those different things in your life and what do I want to achieve in those things? Notice I didn't ask you, what do you want to do with your future? Because we all have, an attempted answer at that. It is a stressful question. So that's not really what we're interested in getting you guys to consider, but it's like, how am I processing that? How am I evaluating what that's going to look like? Yeah. What is it that I'm thinking about when it comes to what kind of school I'm going to go to once I graduate? Which for some of you, that might feel like, a lifetime away, but it'll be here before you know it. Mm. And so learning how to pursue the things of life here and now is going to help you to know how to pursue the things in the future, because you're putting those things into practice now. So if you're using poor methods, foolish methods now, you're going to use foolish methods in the future. So let's start learning how to pursue those things, the things that are in our lives from a biblical perspective, from a God-honoring perspective. As Jesus said of the rich ruler, he said, he talked about being rich toward God. The rich fool was not rich toward God. We want to be rich toward God, meaning that the things that we think about, the things we pursue, the things we are striving to achieve in life are God-focused, I think is what that really means to us. So that's really all of our time. Do you have any final thoughts, Abby?
No, I think everything you just said is so good. It's like what I love that Jesus did here, and I think what we're trying to encourage you guys to do is it's consider. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which means in order to consider the raven, in order to consider the lilies, in order to consider your pursuits, that means you got to kind of slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
This is a you and Jesus moment. Like we can't tell you a checklist of how you do that.
Right.
Because the cool thing is your story is different than my story. Yeah. And your heart is different than my heart. Mm-hmm. And your propensities and sins are different than mine. And yours. And so I think what's really cool is when we slow down and consider the Lord, then he will give us wisdom. Just like James says, if you need it, ask for it and he'll give it to you abundantly. And so we can't do it without him.
Yeah. Well, we hope that you guys have found beneficial information here. We hope that you are challenged by the conversation that we've had, and we hope that it leads to further conversation. So reach out to us. Come find us when we're around together on campus. We'd love to talk to you about these things. Otherwise, until then, we'll see you guys very soon.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Spare Office podcast hosted by the Crosspoint student staff. We would love to hear your feedback and questions, so you can contact us on Instagram at cpstudents_info or on Facebook at Crosspoint Students. Again, thank you for listening to this episode of the Spare Office Podcast.